Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Milton Board meeting. Today is February 23rd, 2022. I'd like to get the meeting started with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Greenfield.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Isakson.
Present.
Councilman Polish.
Present.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Present.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Present.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Present. The public hearing is scheduled for 6:35. It's now 6:33. Brendan, can you read the notice for the public hearing?
Please take notice, the Town of Milton, Saratoga County will be holding a public hearing on Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 at 6:35 p.m. The meeting will be held in person at 503 Geyser Road, Boston Spa, and via Zoom. The purpose of said hearing is to consider the adoption of a local law number 1 of 2022 to amend Town Code 18-38B and C. A complete text of the local law is available at the Town Clerk's office at 503 Geyser Road, Boston Spa, New York, during regular business hours and online at www.townofmiltonny.org. All interested parties will be heard at said time and place.
Thanks, Brendan. I'm just waiting until 6:35 so we can actually start the public hearing. Just bear with us just a minute. Time is now 6:35. The public hearing for the R2 zoning change is now open. Mr. Mancini, would you like to start everyone off here this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Supervisor Ostrander. Deputy Supervisor Kerr, Councilman Blaisdell, good to see you, sir. You're the only remaining person from my time when I was on the town board, and I sat right there. Appreciate your service, Councilman Isakson and Councilman Froelich. Good to see you this evening. I want to thank you for your service to the town board and being a former town board member. I know how hard it can be, and certainly what an amazing turnout tonight. I want to thank everybody who came out. Who'd have thought animals would draw such a crowd? It's wonderful, but I really appreciate it. And what really stemmed this is the issue which is known as the livestock amendment, if you will. And you know, it's my opinion and it's my commentary that the current law, which restricts livestock animals in all zones, but in particular the folks that are here tonight and myself, we're most concerned with the R2, which is our agricultural district. It's our right to farm community. It's our rural district, which limits livestock animals 1 per 2 acres. And our current town code doesn't delineate between what type of livestock animals we're talking about. So we could be talking about a 2,000-pound bucking rodeo bull, or we could be talking about a 75-pound little Nigerian dwarf goat the size of a medium to large-sized dog. Regardless of which one, to simply have just one of those livestock animals, you need 2 acres of land. One of the other deficiencies with this law, as I see it, is that it also doesn't recognize the type of land that people own and the uniqueness of a particular parcel of land. So whereas you could have 10 acres of swampland underwater with just a sliver of dry dirt, the town says you can have 5 horses on that piece of land. But you've got the other farmer, the rancher, the homesteader, who's got 3 beautiful acres of grassland, and the town code says, no, you can only have 1 animal, whether it be a horse, a sheep, a goat, a pig. They're all treated the same. So I think that is a real problem with the law. I also believe a couple of key points, and I talked to a retired veterinarian about this, is that this law also encourages single animals on parcels given the quotas. And these livestock animals that we talk about, they're herd animals. Horses, goat, sheep. They need more than one. Yes, there's always the oddball. There's always the loner in the herd that may do just fine with one. But by and large, you need multiples. They need a buddy. And if they don't have a buddy, they can get depressed. Yes, animals can be depressed. They can get sick. Their health can deteriorate. And worse, they can get sick and also cause destructive behaviors for the owners. And that's something we certainly want to avoid. The other key component is some have argued that this is somehow, animal welfare, animal protection. And I would argue that land use zoning laws, the purpose of a land use zoning law should not be animal welfare. There are other laws on the books, whether we're talking about the Ag and Markets Law or other laws within the town that can address bad actors, okay? And I'll be the first one to say, anyone who abuses or mistreats their animals shouldn't have them. But there's laws to address it. I don't think the proper way to address it is with our land use zoning. The final point is, look at the men and women here, the farmers of our community, the farmers of our county. We want to trust the farmers. Trust that they know their land, they know their livestock. They're going to do what's right. Now, we could always worry about the parade of horribles, the what-ifs. But that's no way, in my opinion, to run government and to run farming operations. I think we need to trust our farmers, trust our ranchers, trust our homesteaders to do the right thing. And if you do have a bad actor, there's laws to address it. It just shouldn't be, in my opinion, in the zoning laws. Living in the R2, the rural district, it's a lifestyle choice. We in the town of Milton, we are blessed with a lot of different types of housing options. We want to live in a beautiful suburban development. We have that in the town of Milton. Beautiful housing developments. We want to live in a more urban setting, like we used to, my family used to. We can live in the village of Ballston Spa. Former Mayor Romano, good to see you tonight. Thank you for coming out. We used to live in the village of Ballston Spa. We could walk to coffee houses. We could walk to great restaurants. We had parks right there. That was a lifestyle choice. But as my kids got older, they decided, they joined 4-H. We've got some great representatives here tonight from Cornell Cooperative Extension. They got involved with showing livestock animals. We started taking horseback riding lessons. Next thing we know, we're leasing horses. And finally, we have multiple horses. I said, I can't afford to lease multiple horses at a boarding facility. We've got to own our own land. And so that's what we did. We sold our house in the village of Ballston Spa. We looked for farmland. And we knew that when we moved to the R2 zone in rural Milton, it was a right-to-farm community. What does that mean? It means there's going to be livestock present. There's going to be the sights and sounds of horses, of cows, of sheep, of pigs. We accepted that. We also knew there was going to be farm noises. Tractors going, sometimes early in the morning. That's okay. We bought into that. And yes, there are smells. There's some manure in the R2 zone, and you do get used to it. And if you don't like any of those things, you don't like animals, you don't like farm noises, you don't like the smells that go with a farm, then maybe you don't want to live in the R2 zone. But we've got to keep our R2 zone strong. And I bragged on my kids a little bit at the planning board meeting. God bless them. They sat through a 3-hour planning board meeting a couple of weeks ago. They didn't complain too badly, but they went through it. I said, this is government in action. This is participation in government. You see an issue, you see a law that you don't necessarily agree with, you address your elected leaders. You try to solve the problem, and then you reach out to your community. You get interest, and that shows here tonight. I said my boys were involved in 4-H. We love the 4-H. We love extension. My oldest son, Jack, is He's a junior in high school. He's recently elected vice president of his Future Farmers of America chapter. He's in BOCES. He's in the environmental forestry program. Very proud of him. Both of my boys are involved in the New York State High School Rodeo. I have the honor of being the national director representing the state of New York, along with members from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Vermont, representing the New York State High School Rodeo at the national level. It's a true honor that I have. But my boys compete as well as the Mahar boys who are here tonight. Good to see you. Also Rodeo All-Stars. They compete right here, Milton residents, Saratoga County residents. We've got a strong agricultural community. My oldest son competes in team roping. He competes in calf roping, his latest event. We call it the big man sport and rodeo. He does steer wrestling. My youngest son, he's 13 years old. He, to my wife's chagrin, likes to ride bulls. I don't know where he gets it from. It's not his father, I will tell you that. But he likes to ride the bulls, and he likes to ride the steers bareback. So proud of them. And I hope, I don't know where the winds of life are going to blow. None of us do with our kids. We want the very best for them. Any parent does. But if they decide that they want to live in the town of Milton, and they want to pursue an agricultural lifestyle, I hope to God that the town of Milton, the rural district, still exists and that they have that option when they grow up. And I think if they do that and we have that, then we're all winners. The last point, and I do have to say, I do know it is on the town website. I do want to address the planning board recommendation that was posted, and I will say I honor and I value the dedication and time that all of our appointed officials, planning boards, zoning boards, any board that a volunteer serves, it can be thankless. There are countless hours, and I thank them for their service. But I do have to say I do disagree with just about everything within their recommendation, and we can have an honest disagreement, and we can have a differing of opinions, and we can debate the issues. And I'm not going to go point by point, but there's 2 points that I do want to highlight. And the first one is the planning board making a recommendation that they feel that they're not in a position to stipulate standards under the provision of the proposed livestock amendment as it relates to special use permits. And I'll be the first to admit, if I don't know something, I don't understand something, and there's a lot I don't know or dot I don't understand, what do? I go to the folks who do know. I do go to the experts, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of experts here tonight who know livestock. I am sure there's at least 1 or 2 folks here tonight would be more than willing to dedicate their time and talents and to assist the planning board if they need the help that they need to be able to come up with certain standards. The other piece that I would just want to state is that the planning board recommendation does make the statement that the law as it currently stands is somewhat arbitrary. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it is arbitrary. And anybody who deals in the law, writes the law, knows that a law will not pass judicial or legal scrutiny if it is arbitrary. By its very nature, an arbitrary law will be overturned. So I would say, let's get rid of what we have. Let's adopt the law that we have before us tonight, which I would propose to you is not arbitrary. I think it is going to give our farmers, our ranchers, our homesteaders the ability to pursue their livelihood, their interests, their hobbies in a way where they don't have to worry that the town code enforcement officers are going to come to their property and take pictures and count sheep or chickens or horses or whatever the case may be. And I will say, our code enforcement office, their department, they have a tough job. I wouldn't want it. They do a great job. Billy Lewis and his team, no issue there. We provide them with the law. They don't have a lot of discretion. They have to enforce it. And I get that. So let's put a law on the books of which we're not going to be faced with arbitrary and capricious standards that lets the farmers, the ranchers do what they love to do. And if we do that, I think we're all winners. And again, I truly, truly appreciate everyone coming out here tonight, supporting this amendment, supporting those who are standing here, packing in this room, christening our brand new renovated boardroom after a couple of years. Happy to be doing it. And I thank this town board for the time and the opportunity.
Thanks, John. Anyone else like to speak? Doug?
I just wanted to come up and discuss some of the benefits of the rural life. I'm a father of 6 children, as many of you may know. I'm Doug Bennett, by the way. I live on Plummer Road here in Milton. My children are unique. They have a work ethic. That's because their mother was a farmer. I adopted the rural way of life when I had moved out into the R2. My son Owen, who we call Big Bob because he's not a small kid, is the #1 farmhand over at Wilmar's Farm to Chuck Curtis. All right, over there he has learned how to handle animals. My son Liam did this as well. He's learned how to run machinery. He's learned how to saw down trees. He's learned many things. And he's also learned how to roll his sleeves up and go to work, as well as my son Liam, who did the same. My son Michael was bigger than Big Bob. He's apprenticing right now as a carpenter. All right, he's also a scholar, well-read. My son Owen, Big Bob, brilliant musician. Liam, an artist. My daughter Mara, who is with us this evening, excellent baker, top-notch chef, #1 student over at Catholic Central. But this ethic came out of a rural way of life and rural people. We worked hard all our lives. All right, we moved out into the R2 because we had a sense of personal sovereignty, and that was exceptionally important to us. I'm a blue-collar laborer, highly skilled, but still a blue-collar laborer, and we struggle every day to stay on our property and to maintain that sovereignty. But that's our treasure in this world. We're never going to make $1 million. I'll probably die in a pauper's grave. But you know, it was the greatest experience to be able to do this, and I want it to be freed up so people, young families, will have these opportunities that we have. And I thank God for those opportunities because it made for a meaningful life. My wife had animals, we had them out there. And when we became too old to really handle them anymore, we found families for our horses. Our cow had passed away. It may have been the longest living cow in the history of man. But my wife loved that animal. So, and I understand there may be some implications with such things as this. And it becomes incumbent on ourselves as farmers and rural people to make sure that we do this right, all right, that we don't incur any kind of liability, that we promote the rural way of life. It's also a moneymaker in many cases for the town of Milton, Saratoga County. We keep the money at home. Times are getting harder. Carl and Mary Engelhardt used to tell me stories about what it was like during the Depression. You know how they survived? They survived because they butchered cows, they butchered pigs, they shared their food, they had no money, and they were barely making it. But you know what? That neighborhood came together, and they supported each other. And this is really all I wanted to say this evening. I wish you will consider this law. And, well, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Well, good evening. This is great to see such a turnout for this issue. By the way, my name is Chuck Curtis. I live at 343 Hop City Road in the town of Ballston. I'm owner-operator of said Wilmar's Farm, as Mr. Bennett just spoke of. And yes, thank you for raising such great kids. Your boys, Michael, Owen, and Liam, have all helped, done fantastic things in the farm and continue to do so. In fact, the reason I am here is because Owen is covering for me tonight. So, I currently serve on the Town of Ballston Board, in my 7th year. So I understand some of the, many of the issues that come before the boards. We have, believe me, several of them in Ballston. But I want to take a little different slant on what we're talking about here. As we know, in the general public, there's a huge disconnect in society from the larger population between what is known as society and where their food comes from. We have a store at the farm, and we run a store, a real well run operation. And the questions that we get every day are just astounding, because it's astounding to me because what the public does not know about agriculture. I don't care if it's anything from a chicken to a cow. As John mentioned, it's all animals. So, again, I fully support this legislation that John is proposing, because what we need to do is we need to mend this disconnect. There's a horrible disconnect out there as to what agriculture really is. It's not just having a cow or chicken. You've got your horticulture, all agronomy. There's a lot to it. But to limit in any effect what or how many animals you can actually have on your residence, that is detrimental and only making the situation worse. And as a former past president of the Saratoga County Fair, I was a 4-H kid from 8 years. I still consider myself a 4-H kid. I'm just beyond the eligible years. An FFA member, I went through all the steps there, and I, being born into a farm, of course I chose this lifestyle, this life path, because I just love what it offers every day. It's a hell of a challenge, but at the end of the day, you can pat yourself on the back and say, I accomplished something. I learned something. This is what we need to get back to. This legislation fully supports an education, no matter where you start. I don't care if it's that little 4 or 5-year-old kid that comes into the store with his mother, and they want to go out and see the cows, see the pigs, see what's going on. Watch a tractor baling hay in the summer. It's that simple, but we need to get back to that. And as an educational, I'm not a teacher, but in an educational form, to foster this, I don't care if they're children, when they're little or growing up, or as in my employees. Many of my employees have come to me without 1 minute of farm experience. They're learning it, all ages, and they're picking it up very well. And this is, again, I don't care if it's a 4-H club you're involved in, FFA chapters. The FFA chapters and the ag classes are out there in the rural areas, in the other counties where there's more prevalence in farming, and as we know here, it's kind of gotten small. Sadly, ag has been removed from many of our school curriculum. That's another reason why we're seeing this result of disconnect. We need to do all we can to foster, nurture, show these kids, give them an opportunity to learn about ag, animals. That's where it starts. And then it will roll from there. And that's how you develop strong leaders in your community, through that very basic agrarian lifestyle. And I'll close with saying that. It's very nice to see you again, Dr. Blaisdell. It's been a while.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Chuck.
Eric Smash now, Middle Line Road. First I'll say what they said. Cut down on the time. Just a couple of other things. The 1 acre in the law, or in the rules that we're looking at, I think special use permit is a great idea, because you'll be able to ask questions like, well, is there any land rented, or adjoining land, or something, another family member owns it, so you'll, and I trust the boards that would hear that in issuing, approving a special use permit, that they could get the information to make you don't have to be a veterinarian to understand what's gonna be a good livestock operation. And as John said, there's plenty of people that could give that. Second, a few years ago, the town was looking at allowing chickens in the R1 zone. And from somebody who's had chickens for pretty close to 40 years, and actually someone who grew up and could see the Empire State Building from my brother's window, there was a lot of people that were worried that would be a problem. And I have to tell you that, I may be wrong, but I don't think there's ever been an issue. But I do know from someone who does give farm tours on our place, and we actually, as a Grange, we put together a how to raise chickens, backyard chicken class. We had 140 people show up at the community center when we offered that. So there's a lot of people that are very interested in this. And I don't think that there's going to be any problem with this rule either. As John said, what he said, there's plenty of rules that will take care of anybody that's not being correct. The final thing is, someone who's lived here for 40 years, one of the beautiful things about Milton is it's a town that respects its people to live their lives correctly, respect their neighbors, and they give you leeway to be free. This is really, there's an awful lot in the news that you could equate it to, but this is really a statement saying we trust people that live here. And I think that that's terrific, and I hope the board will look at it the same way and let everybody know just how, well, it's one of the best kept secrets around. This is a great place to live. So.
My name is Tony Zanella. I don't have anything written down, but I want to talk about the farmer. Like Eric said, he lives on Middle Line Road. How many farmers do you know that had to sell frontage so somebody could build a house on it so they could live next year? Okay? And I think that's something that should be addressed, because that farmer, every year, to stay on his property, is going to have to sell another piece of land for a home. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Joe Anderson, and I own property in the town of Milton under Galway Road. My family owns Anderson Acres, which is a 400-acre beef vegetable and hay farm in Saratoga Springs, so in the town of Charlton. And I really just wanted to address that. Really spoke to my heart when I learned about what was going on here. Growing up in 4-H is something that was near and dear to my heart and helped me become the man that I am today. I am very blessed to run multiple businesses with 20 employees, and I look at my employees today. We're facing an epidemic of people who didn't grow up working, didn't grow up learning something. And I remember as a child, if I didn't do my chores, something died. These kids, these people in this room, they take that very seriously. To me, this is not an animal care issue, far from it. Quite frankly, I think there's the opportunity to reinvent and reinvigorate our local ag community and to help these kids enjoy and learn and grow and struggle. Christopher, is it fun getting up every morning and doing chores? No, not every morning, but you still do it, right? And I think there's a lot of us in this room that owe a lot in our lives and a lot of joy and a lot of gratitude to growing up the way that we did. And I was that kid. I didn't always enjoy and appreciate growing up the way that I did. But now being blessed to having started a financial planning firm and having clients in 47 different states and working with thousands of clients, I have never once would I ever want to grow up a different way. And giving these kids the opportunity to have multiple animals on their land and really enjoy and embrace this ethic of work and taking care of something is only going to help them and their entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Liz. I'm a resident with my husband and children on the same road as John. One thing that John had touched on.
Address, please.
Oh, 615 Plummer Road, sorry. Was the homesteading lifestyle. It's becoming more and more popular, not just as a trend, but as a lifestyle that people will continue on for the rest of their lives, like many of the people here. It's a lifestyle that I wanted my children to grow up with. My husband and I were unfamiliar to it until we bought our home 2 years ago and kind of just dove in to figure it out. But with the amount of people, 18 to 45, that are getting into this lifestyle, I think a law like this would kind of detract from getting residents that are interested in that to come to this area. And to lose out on a whole generation of people that have grown up enjoying farming and homesteading and whatever, current label you want to put on it. It's a lifestyle that a lot of people are really choosing to get into, and I think it would really bring more people, younger people, into the area. So I just wouldn't want our town to miss out on an opportunity of a whole other generation of farmers.
Thank you. Anyone else?
May I? Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Bardunias. I am the Senior Vice President of Membership and Community Advancement for the Capital Region Chamber. Many of you know me as the former President and CEO of the Chamber of Southern Saratoga County, which is an affiliate of the Capital Region Chamber. And I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I'm kind of a bit moved listening to everything here because I'm kind of the face of, this is going to sound wrong, but I'm almost the face of what you don't want this town to turn into. And the reason why I say that, no, in all seriousness, because, okay, I live in Clifton Park. Do we have an FFA in Clifton Park? No. I live on 4 acres. I can't have any livestock on 4 acres in Clifton Park. If I buy the lot next to me, I might be able to get 1 cow, and Chuck is going to have to help me with that, but we'll see. But, the reality of it is not that I'm trying to put down Clifton Park. I love living there, and there's a reason I moved there, and I love where I live in Clifton Park because it's the most rural part of the town. There are actually horses on my street, cows on the next street over. But the reality of it is the town of Milton, I love seeing the fact that you're out here standing up for your lifestyle. You're trying to explain to your leaders and to each other just what it means to live here and why it matters to you. And I think that's great, and I applaud that. That's really what I wanted to do. It's not up to me to tell your town leaders which way to go on this, but I'm just here to just encourage all of you that I love seeing this community activity, because in a lot of communities they take it for granted. And unfortunately when that happens, things may go in a way that you don't want it to be. So just to all of you, congratulations on working together as a town, whatever your decision is, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share tonight.
Thanks, Pete. I have received 2 letters in my office that wanted to be read into the minutes. The letters dated February 1st of 2022. Dear Town Board, as a resident of Town of Milton, who has previously owned various livestocks over the years, I felt the need to speak out on behalf of John Mancini's proposed R2 AG law changes. As a farmer, one must know exactly how many animals can be properly maintained, given the amount of acreage for grazing, water sources, and safety concerns. On 1 acre lot with our buildings is probably not a good grazing area for a Clydesdale, but can properly support a dozen or more chickens, even in a suburban setting. As more and more people are looking for more organic food sources. Those of us in the residential neighborhoods have the right to farm. That is why we purchased the property here to begin with. Denying anyone the right to farmland is unconstitutional. The youth of today need to see exactly how farm animals are raised, whether for food sources or for pleasure. I believe the proposed changes will safeguard the future of home farming while keeping the ability to farm one's own property as we see fit. Those of us that reside on the agricultural area of the town do not understand the necessity requirements for the livestock which we are raising, and 1 animal per acre is not acceptable. I would hope the board will accept the proposed changes that John Mancini is proposing for the R2 agricultural law, as they are only common sense. Sincerely, Verna M. Plummer. The second letter, dated February 10th of 2022, Dear Town Board, Saratoga County Farm Bureau would like to express the support of proposed Milton Town Code Amendment 180-38, Section B and Section C of Saratoga County Farm Bureau has long supported landowner rights and promotion of agricultural operations within the rural community in Saratoga County. This is a sensible change that would promote rural character of the R2 district in Milton and support smaller scale livestock farms. The position is supported by the New York Farm Bureau Policy 12 on page 5. We support maintaining the right to farm laws and agricultural district laws currently in effect at the state level and oppose the local and county governments developing policies more restrictive than state guidelines. Additionally, the position is supported by Policy 8 on page 40. We oppose the government restrictions on sound agricultural practices and equipment. In addition to the policy, the position is supported by 2 New York State Farm Bureau beliefs. First, we believe that the legislation and regulatory policy should prioritize the self-employed farmers and businesses that are crucial to our state's economy. Second, we believe the legislation and regulations favorable to all sectors of agricultural should be aggressively developed in cooperation with allied groups processing common goals. Thank you for your time and consideration. Jamie Pettis. Now I'd like a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Supervisor.
Yes. Oh, okay, come on up, sir.
Hello, everybody. I am Jamie Pettis. I'm Saratoga County Farm Bureau President. I'm the one that sent the letter to the town of Milton in support of John's law. As a farmer myself at Thomas Poultry Farm, we are the largest poultry farm in Saratoga County and the largest one unless you go to Plattsburgh, New York, on the eastern side of New York State. We supply all the eggs to Stewart's. And I do a lot of various businesses here in Saratoga County, and myself, I've been a 4-H'er. I've been actively involved in agriculture since I was a little kid. My dad, Jim, who's here in the audience with us, was a dairy farmer, and I grew up on the dairy farm. I was active in 4-H. My mom's family had the poultry farm. I raised 26 dairy goats for my brother and showed them across New York State. And in the process of doing that, I also won the New York State 4-H Agriculture Award. So agriculture is near and dear to my heart, and it is a declining population. There's only 1%, according to the 2017 National Agricultural Statistics Service Survey. There are 591 total farms in Saratoga County, with approximately half of those grossing less than $5,000 in sales. This is a vitally important part of agriculture in our county, and this sensible change will support those farms. Nationally, there's less than 1% of us that are farming. And with the growing population, the more farmers, as Joe said, as everybody has said, we need farmers, we need the people that have the work ethic. The grocery stores don't just have food on the shelves. It's grown and processed so that it can be put on the shelves by farmers. And I am here speaking on Saratoga County Farm Bureau policy, on New York Farm Bureau policy, and we're in full support of John's new law. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, board, for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I'm from the town of Charlton also, but I wanted to speak about,
Your name, please?
Dawn Zurek, the town of Charlton. I own a farm. But I wanted to talk about the opportunity for small-scale farming. We've heard a lot about large-scale farming as well. But on small acreages, you provide a lot of opportunities for youth to learn about farming, to participate in 4-H in Saratoga County. I did that from the ages 8 to 18, which is the full time that you can be in 4-H. And that's a wonderful opportunity because it connects you with public speaking and responsibility and learning about life and death of being responsible for taking care of livestock. And even on a small scale, backyard chickens, you hear about that, and the opportunity to be in 4-H for competition, raising animals, caring for them, responsibility, and for the opportunity to look at future career opportunities. There's hands-on farming, but there's also behind-the-scenes opportunities in agriculture. You have people that go into research and the sciences. So these are opportunities to allow more people to be involved with agricultural activities if you allow the keeping of animals on the acreages that you're discussing now. And also the exercise for maintaining animals. It's daily exercise requirements. And you know they say that people don't get enough getting out there and moving around, and if you have animals, you're going to be doing that. And you also hear in the news about the opportunity for people that have issues in needing therapy animals, you know, the pygmy ponies and, you know, the therapy animals that they are now asking to keep on their property. So I would like to just bring up these other options for homegrown food sources and smaller scale farming and keeping of chickens. So, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Nicolina. I am here, I don't live in the town of Milton, I actually live in Galway, but I'm here in a couple behalfs. I am a Farm Bureau member. I work for the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Saratoga County. I'm the Farm to School Grant Coordinator. I work with livestock. So I'm not from your town of Milton, but I'm from Galway, and it's very similar. I apologize, we have dressed. I was taking care of someone else's farm animals, a member of my community that was unable to do it himself, but that's the part of it, it's a community. A big reason I'm standing here, I hear all these people, I'm here with Extension and I'm here for you. So I work in the livestock and agriculture. I want to support you guys and I want you to know that we are here for you guys to reach out to with questions. I get a lot of calls from town boards that question about sizes and they have these very same issues. But I think it's important to realize that there's a value to the people who are on these small farms, whether it's just like me, I'm a 9-to-5er, I have a job, but I come home and apparently I just love to work constantly, and I have my land, but these are the people that will stay here within your community. How many of you grew up on farms and because your parents were there and you're gonna take over the farm? You know, I mean, yeah, exactly, and they've been here and they will continue to stay here, and I think that's an important community to have, that not only support each other, but you as well. But I just wanted to, as someone from a different area, I hope if this problem ever comes up in my town, that I have the support that you guys have had or shown from, you know, Charlton and Boston Spa. So we're here if you need us. We're here to support.
Anyone else like to speak? No one else? Motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Well, second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. So I'd like to pose a question to the board. Are we ready to move on resolution 28 this evening?
Yes, and if I may, I have a statement I'd like to read. So I feel we've heard substantial feedback from our residents and neighbors in favor of proposed zoning changes. And while we still need the planning board to review the portion of our code pertaining to special use permits, I would like to hear if Mr. Mancini is agreeable to the proposed changes. Those changes, because there is a slight change. No restriction to the number of hooved animals for those with 2 or more acres of land, and those with less than 2 acres of land both would be required to apply for a special use permit before the planning board. Both of these would be specific to the R2 zone. So previously it was listed as 1 acre. We're considering 2.
So just, again, so everyone's clear, the current law is 1 livestock hooked animal, 1 livestock animal per 2 acres. The proposal that I put forth in the amendment was if you had 1 acre or more, there would be no restrictions on that land. Less than 1 acre, the landowner would have a right, as a matter of right, to apply for a special use permit before the planning board. If I'm understanding the councilman's compromise or proposed amendment to it, it would be we bump the 1 acres up to 2 acres. So 2 acres or more, there would be no restrictions. Less than 2 acres, the property owner would have the right to go to the planning board and apply for a special use permit, of which, if that property owner meets all of the criteria that's going to be created by the planning board, they couldn't be denied, in essence, right? They could not be denied. That would be arbitrary. Well, I certainly do not speak for everyone in this room by any stretch of the imagination. I assume you called me because I was the drafter of the initial amendment. I personally, and on behalf of my family, would not oppose it. If you're going to say that we as a town board are going to come together in a unanimous vote supporting that, I personally would not object. And I would say this, keeping in mind the way I'm playing this out in my head, is that under the current law, if you don't have 2 acres, you can have nothing, 0, under the current law. 2 acres or more under the proposal would be unlimited. We are going to trust the farmers, the ranchers, the homesteaders to do what's right. Less than 2 acres, again, keeping in mind that under the current law, you can have nothing. Less than 2 acres under the proposed amendment, you would be able to go to the planning board for a special use permit. So again, I'm not speaking for the group by any stretch of the imagination. I will speak for myself in that I personally have no objection, and it's, to me, it's more important as we stand here tonight, what I would like to see as a Milton resident, and again, someone who has been on the other side of the dais, I think it would send a strong message if we could get a unanimous vote from this town board that you are going to stand behind the agricultural community as a 5-member town board than something less than unanimous. Granted, I take 3-2. I take 3-2. Let the record reflect that. But I'd rather have 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks, So is the board willing to move on resolution 28 this evening? John?
Mr. Supervisor, with Ryan's change, I am. I do have some concerns though, and I'll be the first to voice them. When I looked at a 1 acre lot, which is 200 feet by 200 feet, and we have front setback regulations in our Balkan area, in our planning, we have a house, we have a septic system, we have a well. Do you think that you can accommodate a horse on a 1 acre lot? Horse for feed, shelter, and that. And I guess that's my concern. I think this is really a work in progress. And I think going forward, we have to set up some kind of a working committee that will look at how we bring this forward in our zoning.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
Brian?
I'm ready.
Barb?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 28, resolution enacting local law number 1 to modify the town code, chapter 180, section 180-38B and C. Whereas the town board and the planning board have been reviewing various town zoning regulations and related laws, whereas it has been suggested by several residents that the town code 180-38 regarding animals and non-farm operation parcels be modified to better support the farming and farm animal activities in the R2 district. And whereas the town board of the town of Milton was provided suggested changes of said code and believes it to be the town's best interest as well as in the best interest of the town and residents to amend the said section. And whereas the town board has caused to be drafted a local law providing changes to 180-38B and adding a new subsection C, which has been placed on the desk of each board members and reviewed. And whereas the board has caused to had advertising for and held a public hearing on the proposed changes on February 23rd of 2022, where the public was invited to give their comments and input. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board, town of Milton hereby approves the modification of current town code 180-38B and C to support farming and farm animal activities in the R2 district and adopt local law number 1 of 2022 modifying said section B and adding subsection C, a full copy of which is attached hereto, and be it further resolved that the town clerk be and she hereby is directed to enter the local law into the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton and give it to the due notice of the adoption of the said local law of the Secretary of the State of New York. Now being it resolved by the town board in the town of Milton, I need a motion for resolution number 28.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Being that I grew up in a 4-H family, and my wife and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for 4-H, I'm gonna say yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Absolutely, I love this lifestyle. People ask me why I don't, this gentleman asked me why I don't sell my 80 acres and be rich. I'd rather live the way I live.
Amen.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes. Anyways.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes.
They're trying to get started. Your husband's snapping at you. He's literally snapping. Excuse me.
Did mom cut? Oh, is she down there? Thanks for coming out.
You have to. You have to stand up for some of the things you believe in.
All the same.
I used to ride down around your place.
Are you staying, Linda? Are you going? I'm going. Are you sure? Yeah, my ride is gone.
Okay, everyone, continuation of the town board meeting. A motion to accept the minutes from the January 26, 2022 meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. First on the agenda, public comment on the agenda items only. Laura.
Thank you so Supervisor and Town Board. I'm Laura Orminski. I work in the Assessor's Department, and I just wanted to remind everybody that the exemptions are coming due March 1st. After March 1st, I can't do anything. It's state law. So if you have an exemption to file, please give me a call at the Assessor's office. Also for our mobile home parks, they have a new change for 2022. No longer are they going to be having the exemption. They're all going to be able to get the STAR credit now. So if you have any questions in regards to that, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Meg?
Meg Stevens, 13 Brookside Street Road in Woods, High. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Was it working? I want to first public comment on a couple of things on the agenda. First off, I'd like to thank Tina Blanchard for the job she did for planning and zoning. She did a terrific job. And I wish her the best in her new endeavor, or repeat endeavor at the town clerk, down at the town court. And also that I think Patricia is going to make a good replacement for her.
Thanks, Mike. Public comment, anyone else? No one else, public comment is now closed. Next, resolution number 26 of 2022 to provisionally appoint Janelle Hooks of 1103 Union Street, Schenectady as a part-time principal clerk for 25 hours per week at $20.73 per hour effective February 22nd of 2022. Resolution number 26 of 2022, resolution to appoint principal account clerk in the town comptroller's office. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints and hires Janelle Hooks of 1103 Union Street, Schenectady, New York, 12308 to the position of grade 6, step of 0, principal account clerk for the town of Milton and comptroller's office effective February 22nd of 2022 at an hourly rate of $23.73 per hour, part-time for 25 hours per week, with their specific hourly schedule be determined by the town comptroller, and with benefits limited to only those that are provided for the town's personnel policy, if any, and with said hire to be conditionally on a 6-month probationary period wherein she performed her performance and remains acceptable to the town board and pursuant to the town policy. Motion for resolution number 26.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isakson?
Yes.
Councilman Froelich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr?
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell?
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander?
Yes. Next, resolution number 27 of 2022. Resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds for purchase and installation of window shades at Town Hall. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board, after due consideration upon recommendation from the town comptroller, hereby authorize the purchase and installation of 20 window shades at Town Hall from Rand Windows Fashions LLC of 803 Route 50 in Burnt Hills, New York 12027 for the price of $4,248 plus any miscellaneous or other incidental expenses associated therewith, and further hereby directs the town supervisor to take whatever steps are necessary to order, obtain, purchase, and execute agreement between the town of Milton and Randall Window Fashions LLC for the purchase and installation of such, and to do all the need and require that all that is needed and required to pay all amounts owed pursuant to such. Motion for resolution number 27.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isakson?
Yes.
Councilman Froelich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr?
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell?
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander?
Yes. Next, a motion to accept the BST audit report for year end December 31st of 2020 for review and consideration.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isakson?
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to add Sam Becker of 3655 Galway Road, Ballston Spa, and Lisa Wanis of 314 Jatsky Drive, Ballston Spa, and Micah Gableman of 534 Ackland Boulevard, Ballston Spa, to the Open Space Committee and remove Brenda Howe from the said committee.
So moved.
Go ahead, Doug.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to accept a letter of resignation from Tina Blanchard as senior clerk in the building department effective February 8th of 2022. Dear Supervisor Ostrander, Town Board, please accept the letter of notice of my resignation from the Town of Milton Building Department position as senior clerk. I have accepted the position as a clerk in the Justice at the Town Court. I would like to express my sincere thanks for all the staff in Town Hall, especially Bill Lewis, and Planning and Zoning Department employees. I have learned and gained a lot of experience and knowledge while working in my current position. I'm looking forward to the new career path with the court, as well as working with the justices and employees. My start date at the Town Court will be February 9th of 2022. I wish everyone the best, and we'll see everyone as often as possible. Thank you, Tina Blanchard.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, next, a motion to appoint Tina Blanchard as a full-time court clerk effective February 8th of 2022. Letter dated February 1st of 2022. Position of court clerk, dear Supervisor Ostrander, council members, as you know, we have spent several months going through the process of selecting a candidate to fill the position of court clerk. We are pleased to announce that a former part-time court clerk, Tina Blanchard, has accepted our invitation to fill this vacancy. It is anticipated she will begin her duties at the court on Monday, February 7th. It will be most appreciative if the town board sees it fit to formally hire Ms. Blanchard as a full-time clerk as of February 7th of 2022 at appropriate wage. Sincerely, Judge Brown and Judge Cromie.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to appoint Patricia Conniff as full-time building department clerk. Letter dated February 4th, 2022. Please accept this as my formal resignation from the zoning department. I'm happy to give a 2-week notice. My last day in the position will be February 18th. I'll be transitioning into the building department as the clerk. I'll be working with both positions to the best of my ability. I will continue to work as a planning and zoning clerk to the boards as long as needed. Thank you for the opportunity within the department. Patricia Conniff.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to appoint Patricia Conniff as a full-time building department clerk.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to advertise for a summer camp director at a pay rate of the town.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to approve, or correction, to advertise for a part-time planning and zoning clerk for 20 hours per week at $20 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, a motion to approve a peddler's license for Mr. Denley.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Councilman Frolis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, the monthly report and liaison reports and county committee reports. Animal control, we just hired a full-time animal control officer, so his reports will be available starting next month. Next, building department.
Building Department. During the month of January, the Building Department processed 11 building permits and collected $1,431.60 in building permit fees. We completed 93 construction inspections, 42 fire safety inspections, and responded to 8 code enforcement complaints. A total of 20 permits were closed with 11 certificates of occupancy. 9 certificates of occupancy being issued. We also collected $300 in zoning fees. William Lewis.
Thanks, John. Next, buildings and grounds. During the month of January, we have completed the following tasks: snow removal on town property and parks, galley cleaning and disinfecting of the community center, court, and town hall, perform maintenance on vehicles, moving all furniture and equipment in the town hall, ordering of all materials needed for town hall relocation, acquired quotes from new generator contracts and quotes to fix a downed generator, and inquired quotes for floor and rehab for the community center building. Contour budget versus actual reports, cash balances, detailed transition reports are filed with the board. Next, the highway department.
I'm working on it.
You're not gonna last long in that department then, pal.
I guess.
Hey, John, would you like mine?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. The highway department has been busy cleaning the roadways from ice and snowstorms. Once our roadways are cleared, we do send crews out to push back the snow on the sides of the road and in intersections. The safety of our town residents is always one of our top priorities. We ask residents to remember the town code that prevents them from parking in the roadways from November until April. The code makes sure the roadways are clear so we can safely plow and do our jobs in an efficient manner. The highway department also makes a sand salt mixture available to town residents during the winter months at 503 Geyser Road. The sand salt mixture will only be available to town residents on a first come, first served basis. The sand and salt mix may only be taken in 5-gallon buckets or containers.
Thanks, John. Next, historian, Karen.
Good evening, Town Board and Supervisor Ostrander. Over the past month, I've been answering research requests from home, and on February 10th, we moved back here to Town Hall, and I'll be setting up more regular visiting hours to my office space located in the basement level downstairs. I'm still organizing. I also continue to document the COVID-19 pandemic. The county dashboard, as of Sunday the 13th, has 266 cases, and there's even less now than there was when I wrote my report, which is good. The town of Milton total cases are now 3,174, which is an increase of 533 cases over the past month. The village has a total number of 945, which is an increase of 149 cases. All of those are going down, so that's the trend, that's what we want. There are currently 28 people hospitalized, and that's true as of yesterday. Those same 28 are still in the hospital, and sadly there was 28 deaths over the last month in our county. February 7th, I presented a Zoom presentation for the Galway Preservation Society entitled Forgotten Crossroads, Rock City Falls, and that was very well received. I had a lot of fun doing it too. On February 15th, 2022, I attended a webinar through the New York State Documentary Heritage Program entitled Forget the Best, Good and Better Approaches to Preservation. It was very good, and it had lots of money-saving tips for preservation, which they gave in the presentation, which was good. The Nexus Historic Structures and Places Committee will meet on Thursday, last Thursday, February 17th at the Community Center. Anyone interested, actually, we met here. Anyone interested in our local history is welcome to attend, and we talked about cemetery issues and the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War celebration, with hopes to create a celebration committee sometime in early 2022. And this isn't in my report, but in May, I'm going to a regional gathering of historians, town historians, and historical societies. And what they're going to do is give us kind of a synopsis of what they expect of towns to do to become a certified celebratory community, which will make us eligible for various grants. Once we're a certified community, then we shall be able to get some money. So that'll be good. The Saratoga County History Roundtable is having in-person meetings now, and they're also broadcasted on Facebook Live. There was one this past Saturday, which was real good, about the Lattimore family in Saratoga and how they would, like a spider web of underground railroad places all over Saratoga County, and that was very interesting. Brookside's winter hours are Saturday and Sundays 12 to 4, and they have a new exhibit there called The Black Experience 1750 to 1950, that's 200 years, which will be available through the month of November of this year. March 8th, I'll be presenting the first Brookside Local History Award to our very own Jim Richmond, who is a working member of the town's Historic Structures and Places Committee. Congratulations to Jim. Go to Brookside's website to get the most updated information about upcoming events, as there are too many to mention here, and there are some really good programs coming up. And most all of them are free, which is even better. Respectfully submitted, Karen Stellers.
Thank you, Karen. Next, Town Clerk.
Okay, for January 2022, we had 1 marriage, we had 8 certified marriage certificates, 9 certified death certificates, 1 FOIL and search of records request, 92 dog licensing, 26 online dog license, 5 hunting and fishing license, and the town share was $1,659.88.
Thank you, Brenda. Next, Town Justice.
For the month of January, charges received total of 127, charges disposed 124, total money collected and remitted to the state controller, fines $2,552, surcharges $2,763, civil fees $747.50, for a total of $6,062.50.
Thank you, Blair. Next, Town Tax Collector. Lisa?
Thank you, Supervisor Ostrander and the Town Board. The Tax Collector's Office collected a total of $855,894.51 since February 1st. Since the last report of January 26th, my office has collected a total of $4,373,240.56 for a grand total, all season so far, $7,395,261.71. I paid to the town of Milton the sum of $2,726,677.63. I paid that on February 2nd, along with a $49.99 bank interest that we earned. To date, the tax receiver's office has collected 88% of the taxes, which is pretty good. We're very happy to be back at Town Hall receiving taxes on Thursdays and Fridays from 9 to 4, if anybody's interested. And appointments can be made on Monday through Wednesday, but I do suggest contacting my office at 518-884-2765. Respectfully, Lisa Lund.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, Youth Borough, Meg, do we have anything?
No.
All right, thank you. Planning and zoning.
For the zoning board meeting on January 27th, there was discussion around a proposed variance for a new storage and work building at 405 Geyser Road. There was some discussion from the public and the board around the material, style, and color to conform with town center guidelines. There was also a motion for a 9-foot setback for a relief from 20 feet to 11 feet, which passed. There was a public hearing and discussion around proposed mail kiosks for Fair Oaks. There was a proposal or consideration to subdivide parcels to allow for separate kiosk parcels accompanied by a nonprofit association, which would occur on 2 potential subdivided parcels, and the developer offering to fully fund it for 5 years, and the developer would then be looking for residents to volunteer to take over maintenance after that period. The public hearing was left open, as there's outstanding questions. And lastly, there was a discussion around a solar farm at 209 Stone Church Road, where they were looking to connect 2 parcels, and also looking for a variance in coverage from 10% to 18%, and public hearing set for February 24th at 7:05 p.m. Also, planning board meeting on the 9th of this month. Public hearing continued for the proposed Cottagel Townhomes project at 240 Greenfield Avenue. There was a presentation from Environmental Design Partnerships LLC. Discussion was around water connection, sewer grinder pumps, HOA, kiosk cluster boxes, buffers, wetlands, fire hydrants, and quite a few other things as well. The public hearing was closed. There were 3 conditions that were outlined still needing to be met. First being the Army Corps of Engineers response regarding potential wetlands, Postmaster response regarding proposed mail kiosks, and a buffer no-cut outline. The aforementioned potential new storage work building at 405 Geyser Road was also discussed for a public hearing to be set for March 9th at 7:05 p.m. Stomping Grounds, which is formerly known as Boyhaven, there's a request to change their operational seasonal dates as well as increase their camper capacity from 150 to 250. The board will need a copy of the site plan to ensure the increased capacity is still covered by the original plan, and there's a public hearing set for that for March 7th at 7:10 p.m. A new potential quarry special use permit was discussed, which would be at 431 Route 29. The property itself was just under 100 acres next to the existing quarries with a potential 70-acre lot to be utilized. Under conceptual review and have to determine if the board or DEC will be the lead agency. The solar farm was discussed and is under continued review. And also the board discussed the code section 18038 regarding hoofed animals, which we passed tonight.
Thank you, Ryan. County reports, the only thing I want to address is that the county did hold a public hearing on the airport lease and the proposed new hangar for the airport. Our town was well represented by the residents. I think there was like 8 total that spoke, and they did an outstanding job representing our town. Next, public comment on any town business. Anyone like to speak? Right?
First, I'd like to ask permission if I could
Sure.
stay here, because otherwise we're going to be here another hour. So. Couple of things. First, I'm glad to see the COVID test kits out. I don't know if you're aware, but the county got 60,000 of those test kits that weren't available anywhere. 60,000.
We have probably 8 in storage. 8 of the 1,000, 8 of the 60.
Oh, no, I got them down there too. Anybody needs them, please pass the word. We've got them. And Jason was trying to peddle them to me. That didn't happen. Secondly, in my pocket, I have this wonderful little kit here. I don't know if anybody has any idea what this is.
I can't see that far.
Most of us can't. This is Narcan, okay? I feel honored that I was in the Narcan training course down in Ballston Spa a couple of weeks ago now that Chief Bush put on. He expected 12 to 20 people. We had almost 60. It was over 50 people. One of the things that's come out of that is that the county wants more training organizations. So Community Emergency Corps is now trying to get together all the necessary stuff in order to become one of the Narcan training centers. And we would go out to anywhere, really, within the town and within our district, to train people on the use of Narcan. Narcan does not cure what the problem is, it just helps the people through their episode. And folks that are overdosing on all this stuff that has fentanyl in it, there's no boundaries. We lost 5 people at the end of the year in Ballston Spa, and 4 of those were 2 couples. And they were not kids, one couple was in their 50s. So it's out there, it's needed, it can be your next door neighbor, it could be some kid at school. I carry it on me now, okay? My wife carries it on her. We will be given the training, okay? So I would love to be able to come up to the town and have training classes for town employees. I think it would just be a big help. And I'd love to get involved with senior organizations, who knows, they may be somewhere where they need it. Lastly, those of you that don't know me, one of my hobbies is music. And when you play music, you usually try and sing. And it requires PA systems, it requires microphones and all that. And you guys have horrible systems here. I hope that part of the improvements that we're doing to Town Hall includes mics for everybody, so you don't have to play the Barb and John and Ryan game here. And with some quality equipment so we can understand you and hear you.
Ray, it's been ordered.
It has,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Come back next month, right?
Next
All
month.
right. I'm just sitting here tonight going, all right, that's a, thank you.
Thank you.
For letting me speak.
Yeah?
Hi, Michelle Judah, 34 Van Tassel Lane. I came with great hope that prior to approving for review and filing the BST audit reports, that the board might make some comment to the public about those reports. And I'm just completely disappointed and almost speechless that we continue to have a problem in the town of Milton with a lack of transparency. It is not a problem that I would attribute to any particular supervisor, any party. It is an ongoing problem. I just want to say that, before I say anything more, this has nothing to do with our current controller. I am so happy that he has continued to keep his job, because I really do believe that he is the only hope that we have. I'm very glad that he's in the position that he's in and is able to assist. But I do think that the public should be aware of the fact that those reports that were posted today, after I requested where they were, are the audited financial statements for 2019 and 20. 2019 needed to be reissued because there were restatements made to it. They contain an adverse opinion from the auditing CPA, which gets issued because there's believed to have been misstatements, which are not lies, misstatements that were pervasive and impacted the ability of financial institutions and the citizens to rely on those reports. There were concerns in the report. When I say misstatements, they really are looking at how expenses and revenues are being allocated, where they're being accounted for, where things are being credited and debited, and there needed to be a lot of changes made to that. We know that things have not been good with our town finances. The fact that we're not hearing about it makes me concerned that that might continue. What I took from the report, and I spent the day at the hospital with a seriously ill family member, so I was reading it in between. What I took from the report is that there's concerns about how we're accounting for our infrastructure, how we're relying on the value of that infrastructure, the cost of the infrastructure that we have at the time we got it, and we're not depreciating it. And because of that, we could be overinflating the financial position of the town. There were also, while our cash position is good, I think it's really important for people to know there's cash in the town of Milton. But if you look at all of the monies that are expected to come in and all of the liabilities the town has on its books, which includes retirement liabilities, we actually finished 2020 with a deficit when you look at all of those things. So if money came due and those liabilities needed to be paid, there's a deficit on the books. It was very clear in that report that our retirement benefits, the cost for that, are increasing at a very substantial rate year over year, and that the auditors are very concerned about that in terms of, again, the financial well-being of the town and our ability to stay, in a positive position and in good financial standing. So I really do hope that we will be talking about these things, particularly the retirement issue, which we started to hear some rumblings about in the last year or two. It needs to be discussed. The reports that were just filed and accepted, I don't see those. If those were January, I don't see those on the town website. We really need to have those. We need people to be able to look at them. And I am not an accountant. If I am misunderstanding something, it is an inadvertent error on my part, but I would ask that the board do its part to inform and educate the public about what those documents mean, so that people, if I am making a mistake or an error, please correct me and correct everybody so that we know and understand. But I was really hoping that there'd be some discussion, even if it was just, and I mean, this report was dated December 22nd, even if it was just, we have it, we're looking into it, and I think there should be some public conversation about what we're doing to make sure that those mistakes don't continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Doug?
Just something brief. This story made mention of the Revolutionary War. And one of the things that most people don't know in the town of Milton is that Milton did play a part in the Revolutionary War. I'll be brief about it, but a raid was staged from Canada. It actually went up Paisley Road, and it terminated just down the street on the Cateros. It was very interesting reading the Revolutionary War Journal, so if you want to look it up, you can. But terminated right down on Midline Road. And it was fairly significant. And I was glad she had mentioned the Revolutionary War, because nobody equates that to Milton. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
To reiterate what Doug just said, the town of Milton was also very influential in the Underground Railroad. The Stone Church up here on Stone Church Road was one of the stations for the Underground Railroad.
Thank you, Tony. Anyone else?
And so wasn't Burns' house on Paisley Road as well.
Anyone else? Public comments now closed. There'll be no executive session this evening, so therefore, being no further business, motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Oxon.
Yes.
Councilman Rowland.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Supervisor O'Shea.
Yes, our next board meeting will be March 30th at 6:30 p.m.
I'm interested in